Let me now turn to another problem of integral, which is that we have no places to go if you wanted to learn integralism. Integral Institute was never designed to be a place where you would be taught to do cosmology or integralism. It was a place which was supposed to teach you to become integrally informed. The idea behind this was that if you bring your own professional and specialized perspective, what Integral Institute would offer is a bigger picture, the framework, integral theory, that allows you to spot how your professionalized perspective fits into a bigger picture of other perspectives. In other words, it wouldn't make you competent in the other perspectives, but it would allow you to see them and recognize them as something that complements you. So you could point to other professionalists who can solve specific problems with which you personally maybe have no real experience with or not able to cope with. But being integrally informed is not the same thing as being an integralist. Ken Wilber is not integrally informed. He's not a professional specialist who further has an integral theory. He's someone who has devoted his life to developing integral theory. He's someone who has devoted his entire life on scanning dozens of different disciplines for patterns that connect them. He's searching for the kind of knowledge that unifies different disciplines. And this is an entirely different endeavor from becoming integrally informed. Just in sheer numbers, if you look at it from a behaviorist perspective, it roughly takes you some 200 or 300 hours to become somewhat integrally informed, to become pretty well educated on the subject of integral theory. Basically, if you read all of Ken's books, you will have a grasp of integral theory. It's feasible, it's something that you could do in a year. But being an integralist is an entirely different league. It would take at least 20,000 hours of studying to be someone who not only has a big picture, but also understands how this big picture has been abstracted from the specialized knowledge, from the disciplines. It is not a coincidence that Wilber has been reading the sources, the primary sources, and not only reading the work of other cosmologists. He has been reading all the various disciplines on the very differentiated level and the level of specialization that is common sense in our present day professionalized institutions. That's his words. He said that he was reading around 20 different disciplines at PhD level, well, PhD level for the respective discipline. It will take you at least 20,000 hours of studying to be a novice integralist, if you want. And now do the sum game. With the 300 hours of studying integral theory, I think Integral Institute could help you. But with the rest, the 19,700 hours, you were basically left alone. So to me, it's not a surprise that no one really made it through this amount of studying. If I look around, I couldn't think of that many other individuals who have this breadth of knowledge that Ken Wilber has. He's very unique in a way. On the one hand, this has led to him not really being willing to confront critics anymore. I mean, this is a very generous interpretation of what's going on here. I think this is his personal view on the issue, that there simply are very few people around who can, as he does, understand the entirety of integral theory, who don't only understand a part of it, which is related to one's own discipline, but who can understand the entirety of it. Those who see through all these disciplines are very rare. I couldn't actually think of a single person that lives up to Ken's overall breadth of understanding. And Frank Fessé is right. If integral theory and Integral Institute, or integral as an entire movement, doesn't come up with ways of breeding more people like Ken and helping them to do this kind of practice, which again is integralism and not being integrally informed, it will vanish the moment Wilber has gone as a person. Because no one will be able to reconstruct and to make alive again this theory once he's gone. because no one will be able to connect it to the actual knowledge that is on the ground and show how certain abstractions have been made from this actual territory. No one is acquainted with the entirety of the territory except Wilbur, and that's a problem. It's a problem we have to think about because our present-day institutions are not built to help you with doing integralism. They're actually built for very other purposes and around very different ideas. But just so is Integral Institute. I personally doubt that a young Ken Wilber would have spent time at Integral Institute had it existed back then. Simply because, again, what he's doing is integralism and not becoming more integrally informed. And the only way to do integralism so far is to try to do it on your own. So I don't think it's a coincidence that he spent a few years cut off from society, reading in the dark and alone. It's basically the only way we have available right now if you really want to do it well. Because the moment you do it in society with others, you will be embedded in institutions that have very different goals that have usually nothing to do with teaching you integralism. And with these 19,700 hours of studying, being left alone, I really wouldn't be surprised that most people simply don't make it. There's just so many things that can go wrong. It's just incredible. Becoming a professional violinist is something that seems easy compared to this colossal task of attempting to do integral theory well. Ishak Perlman once said that it's basically a bloody miracle if someone makes it to have a career as a violinist past the age of 40, because there's so many things that can go wrong. It's just incredible. So many minuscule details that make a difference can basically break your entire career. The same thing is with doing integralism. One little small factor that might be slightly off, like for example, you not being fast enough of a reader, might be enough to make the project basically impossible. Or you having read the books at the wrong time, for example, might also be such a factor that basically makes the whole entire project impossible if you're trying to do it on your own. So I really suggest we think hard about how to build something on the lines of the Platonic Academy. It has a certain kind of similarity with it, but keep in mind that the Platonic Academy was not a place where you could go for a summer camp, but it was a place where you would study for decades. And I think this is what's necessary if you want to do integralism well. Everything else leads to universal dilettantism, which is you might have a well-developed sense for the whole picture, but you will lack the detailed knowledge of the specifics that would help you and that would allow you to discuss specific problems on the level of differentiation that is simply required by our present-day institutions. And if integralists cannot speak the language of the specialist just as well as they can speak the language of the generalist, they will be dead fish in the water.